Right, right. Okay. All right. It is 5:05, and I think we can get started with meeting. So I'm going to start video recording. Is that going to be okay with everybody?
I think it's already recording. It shows that it's been
Oh,
recording.
oh, okay. Because there's a window on my screen that says host has asked you to start record. So I'm going to try this. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And this is the conversation on safety and hate crimes with Dublin, well, actually Alameda Sheriff Chief, Mr. Garrett Holmes, as well as Dublin Mayor Melissa Hernandez to join us today, and also with our newly elected Asian API City Council member, Sherry Hu. Thank you everybody for joining us. Um, and I'd like to thank City Manager Linda Smith, John, and Sierra for helping to coordinate this event. So appreciate everybody's efforts behind it. So to start off, I like to say, first of all, we are very lucky with all that's going on around the country. We're very lucky that comparatively speaking, our city has been really safe. And our police force has always been doing a great job trying to keep the residents safe and in a safe environment and free from crime as much as possible. But in the past, Chief Holmes, would you like to share a little bit of our current, or before actually we get started, I'd like to have Mayor Hernandez to say a few words, followed by Sherry, before we dive into those questions.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Margaret, for, bringing the community together and to also be able to have Chief Holmes, myself, and some of our city staff be on board. And we were more than happy to be able to do something and come together. And that being said, Dublin has always been a place for everyone. And we want to make sure our residents know that. And we've always been constantly striving for leadership and inclusion, diversity and unity. And also the fact that we want to be able to have that open conversation, that where you feel comfortable to always contact us or contact Chief Holmes whenever you see anything. And that's one of the issues that I feel that needs to be addressed is if you see something, you should say something. And I think people are afraid to do that. And we want to make sure that this is a community where you should not be afraid to be able to voice your opinion, to be able to voice what you've seen, and to be able to voice to say that you need help. And so we're absolutely here for you and for, all the entire community. But we want to also make sure that we ask our residents to stay strong and resilient and to be able to be vocal. Again, I want to thank you. One of my priorities, even when I was running in 2016, is to make sure that we have a safe city. And that Dublin has always done that. We've done that for our police officers. We've offered and we've, voted to make sure that there's cameras around the city of Dublin and to make sure that we have the officers that we need to be able to support our community. But again, I'm glad that we're able to do this evening and being able to make people aware that Dublin is a safe community.
Right. And I'll also like to take the opportunity to thank the city of Dublin, Mayor Hernandez, as well as the rest of the city council member for passing the recent resolution stating that there will be no hate allowed in the city of Dublin. And that means a lot to the API community as well. I mean, obviously, hate crime is really something that we stand against for anyone, any race. And we want to make that clear to all of the community members as well. And we're thankful that we have, the city of Dublin have included API, in their leadership team as well. And, recently Sherry has been elected as the latest API City Council member. So Sherry, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Margaret. Thanks, Mayor Melissa and Chief Holmes to be here today. And first, I want to say I really appreciate we have a great city here. We have our mayor, our city councils and the city managers, and we have our chief, the police department to stand behind us. So although we know there's a turmoil in other parts of the country, but we still feel peace of mind here in our home in Dublin. And we really do not take that for granted. Second thing, I think that's one thing we want to thank Margaret to give us this opportunity to have this meeting together. And we want to learn about what we can do to protect ourselves. And there's so many things we probably haven't really worried about and thought about or really think through about if that happens to us, what do we need to do, right? So we want to use this opportunity, open up the floor to ask questions, especially to the chief, because you are so experienced and you have done this. So we want to learn from you. And the last thing I want to tell everybody here today, and we as a city, as mayor just talk about, we stand behind all the Asian API communities. We stand together strong, and we will be here against any Asian hate, against any crimes. And we know with everybody to work together and being here together, we'll be stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry, very much. And you have always been the voice to unite the community, so really appreciate that. All right, now we can dive into the questions. So I'm going to start with the first question. So what is the current status of, Dublin's current crime rate based on, different category, including theft, robberies, as well as hate crime?
Yeah, first of all, Margaret, I just want to thank you for organizing this event so that we can get together and we can kind of share some information. The Dublin Police Department, we stand against hate, and we've seen what's happened across the country, and it's something that could happen in Dublin. And I just want to let everybody know that your police department here is part of the community, part of the fabric of what makes Dublin great, and that the police department will be there for everyone to make sure that they're safe. And so with
Thank
that,
you very much. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So in regards to the crimes, what I'm going to report on is comparisons from 2019 to 2020. As we all know, we've all lived through the pandemic, and so there was a lot of things that changed. So there was a lot of people that were, working from home. Children weren't going to school. There was a lot less shopping going on in person. There was more deliveries that were happening at the residences. So overall, comparing 2020 to 2019, we saw like a 7.5% decrease in crimes against persons. And then as far as property crimes, we saw quite a substantial reduction of 32%. And so that primarily is attributed to a lot less cars were getting broken into in shopping centers where people would leave property, purses, laptops, things of that nature. And so, and then I think you have a question later on in regards to some mail theft and and maybe like packages that are getting stolen off people's porches. Those have increased a little bit, but still not very much. Let's see.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
inject one quick question?
Mhm.
So you mentioned about, the overall theft has reduced down to by 7%.
Mhm.
And what was the, I guess, original rate on 2019 versus what is the rate for 2020?
So let's see here. when we're comparing violent crimes, we had documented 107 reported incidences in 2019 and 99 in 2020.
Okay.
And so, and then the numbers as far as the property crimes, it was 1,169 in 2019 and 793 in 20.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So,
That's a sharp reduction. And when you mention about violent crime, what is that referring to?
so those would be aggravated assaults,
Mhm.
forcible rapes, homicides, and robberies. And
Oh,
so,
homicide is also included in there.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
And so, for as far as robberies, there was 44 in 2019 and 32 in 2020. So
Okay.
those were down almost 30% in the robbery category. And like I said, I attribute that more to people staying home, and they weren't putting themselves, they weren't vulnerable for somebody to take advantage of them. And so,
Right.
and then the other question you had and was a hate crimes, and we
Mhm.
haven't had any hate crimes reported in the last 2 years. So,
Okay.
um,
That's great. That's great.
when I go back, let's see. Actually, we had one hate crime in 2019 it was in September. And I don't have any of the details of that particular incident for you, but we did have one in 2019.
May I ask for hate crime? What do we arrest them and then we prosecute them, or how does the process go?
So generally with a hate crime is that there's going to be usually some other underlying criminal offense that takes place, which it
Mm-hmm.
could be a robbery, it could be a burglary, it could be some sort of theft, and that the reason that they're doing that particular action is against of a particular race or protected class. And
I
so
see.
and so what we would do is we would add the additional hate crime penal code section uh,
Mm-hmm.
on that, and it just creates a greater accountability for that particular offense.
I see. As far as the way that you prosecute the case, it's practically the same. Am I correct?
No, well, they would move forward together. So you would have,
Okay.
if it was, for example, if there was a woman walking down the street and somebody saw this individual and targeted them specifically because of their race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation, then that would fall under the category of the hate crime. So you'd have the robbery, and then you could also have the hate crime, and so that would be just like an enhancement. It would make it,
Okay.
to make the penalty more severe.
Okay. Okay. Understand.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then that brings me to the next question. You know, when facing emergency situations such as robbery, home invasion, or hate crime, um, how should we best respond? I mean, what can we do to de-escalate the situation if it is possible? And if it is not, what is the best practice to protect ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, every situation can be unique amongst itself. It depends, if you're alone or if you're in a public place. So things kind of vary quite a little bit. One of the things that I had seen with another group uh, that we work with is the San Ramon Diversity Coalition, and so they had come up with. Some methodologies as far as like if somebody's a bystander and they're seeing a crime that takes place. And so some of the tips that they were giving was, for if you're not a party in that particular incident, maybe try to, distract the targeted person and trying to start up a conversation and making sure that trying to diffuse the situation. Or maybe contacting a store manager and saying, "Hey, there's an incident. These people are arguing over here. Can you come and help?" Um, Obviously, you can always call us if it's something that's an emergency. Definitely for people to call 911.
Mhm.
if it's something that, if it's a crime that's already occurred and the person is gone and the situation is done, then they can always call our dispatch number. It's the 925-462-1212. But if it's an emergency and things are going down at the time, please call 911. And then,
Okay.
if there's a possibility of, videotaping the incident, that's always helpful for us. And then, when somebody calls it in, the dispatcher on the other end of the phone, they're going to be asking some critical information. They're probably going to ask you what your name is, what your location is, what did you see that happened? Are both parties still on scene? Has one party left? If they left, are they on foot or are they in a vehicle? Which direction are they traveling? How long ago did the incident take place? And so they're going to be asking a series of questions that they're going to be gathering. They're going to be typing it into the computer, and then they're going to be relaying that information to the patrol officers who are driving around the city, and they're going to be able to respond, and they'll be able to take in that information. And then, if we have multiple units, one unit will usually go and contact the victim, while the other units are going to go and they're going to try to find the suspect of that particular crime.
Right, right. I have a question that's stemming from what you have just shared. If, let's say, an individual was being chased or whatnot, or he or she find a hiding place, and the individual wants to call 911, and obviously, she or he try not to talk too much if the individual is hiding. What under this kind of circumstances, what would be the best practice?
So our dispatch has the ability to receive text messages as well.
Okay.
So, if you want to, put your phone into silent mode and send a text with that information, then that will be relayed to our dispatch too.
Okay. Okay, that's great. All right. Then that brings us to
Margaret, can I
Yes.
ask you ask the chief a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Because I have heard a lot of people talking about learning self-defense, and my concern is if we do learn a little bit, but we are not still strong enough to control the offender, that might
Bring more harm?
bring more harm to us. So in that kind of situations, like should we try to defend, or if we bought the pepper spray, should we use this?
Yeah, those are good questions, Councilmember Hu. And I think it's going to really rely on each individual person's how confident they are in their abilities to fight off a particular attacker. Depending on, again, if you're alone and you're isolated, then your last resort, if you feel that your life is in danger, you're going to have to fight for your life. Scream, yell, try to get somebody's attention. Try to get to your phone and call 911. Because one of the things with the ability that we have now is if somebody calls 911 on their cell phone, then the GPS coordinates go to our dispatch. And so even if you don't say anything, we're going to send an officer to that area, and we're going to check that area to see if there's anything that doesn't look right. And so if it's at a residence, we get them often when people are driving in their cars. Our dispatchers, they'll try to call them back, but we always respond to the area of where that call came from. So that's one avenue there. And then as far as pepper spray, yes, I mean, if it makes you feel more comfortable and safer, absolutely, you can carry pepper spray. Pepper spray, all of our officers have pepper spray. They've been trained on it in the academy. Pepper spray works works very well. It has quite the burning sensation. Really, I'd recommend trying to spray it in the perpetrator's eyes. That has the most effect, as well as respiratory once that's been discharged.
So
It's-
I do want to add with the pepper spray, there's an age, correct?
Mhm.
Is it 18,
Yeah,
Chief
you
Holmes?
have to be an
So
adult, right? Yeah.
I know, and that's so difficult for parents that have children. I know my daughter likes to go jogging around the area, and so that's one of my biggest fear is, as a young girl running out there as well. But we always have her location on all the time. But I just wanted to bring up the conversation with pepper spray just in case some people didn't know that there is a limit on the age.
So,
Correct.
Mayor, do you mean pepper spray? Limit on age is who can use pepper spray? Like people have to be adults in order to use that?
Chief?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe it's 18.
Okay. So another situation I say is in the New York, in the subway. I say you probably see that video too. There's a lot of people, but there's a fight going on, but nobody's actually helping. So I want to ask you in that situation, what's the best way for the victim to do?
If I was in that situation, you would hope that somebody who's around would call the police. And so if something's happening, maybe just call out to those people and tell them, hey, call 911. Ask for somebody to call 911 for you. We really would hope that somebody would help intervene in regards to stopping that. But sometimes people, all they want to do is get out their cell phones and videotape the incident, when you'd hope to just, all it takes is one person in that group to call 911, and then we're on our way to come help.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Holmes. It's regarding pepper spray. Is there a particular type that's more safer to use? There's just aerosol ones and there's gel pepper spray.
We carry the aerosol. The aerosol seems to be very effective.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay, then I'm going to move to my next question. During the incident, well, we have already, talked about, whether to call 911 or call the dispatcher. But after the incident, what is the channel to best report? And when reporting, I guess, what are the key information that the police really need for, further the investigation?
Yeah, so like I had stated earlier, is the dispatcher is going to want to receive quite a bit of information. Please be patient with them. They're just trying to relay as much information to the police officers who are responding to the incident, so they can kind of start forming their approach to the incident and what tools are going to be necessary when they respond on scene. And then as far as after the fact, if a person has been arrested, then the police officers, they write their report, and then it goes over to the district attorney's office. And so if there's no further if there's follow-up investigation on the police department's behalf, then usually that gets, either the patrol officer is going to finish it up, or it's going to get handed off to a detective. And so like the more serious crimes get handed off to a detective. And so if you're the victim of a crime, you can follow up with the detective, and they can kind of let you know how the case is progressing. Once it's been handed off to the district attorney's office, then you have to work with the district attorney's office, and they can let you know how that process is going through the courts, since they're the ones that are doing the prosecution on it, not the police department.
So the first place where we should report is through the police department, local police department, and thereafter, whether it is, diverted to the detective or the district attorney, they will notify the victim that, okay, I'm taking over your case, or.
Yeah, if it's handed off to one of our detectives, then the detective would reach out to the victim and work with them and keep them apprised of how the investigation's going. And then once the investigation's been submitted to the district attorney's office, then I would recommend for the victim to contact the district attorney's office and see who the person is in that office that is in charge of that case.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And those information will be shared with them, like who will be responsible for their case.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And then moving on to the next question. Upon reporting, we mentioned about some of the follow-up steps, how should we monitor and follow up the progress? And you have previously confirmed, but since we're recording, for those suspects that, took away property with values less than $950, they will be released. It could be released a few hours after arresting, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So a few years back, Prop 47 increased the theft amount from $400 to $950. And so anybody who's arrested for a misdemeanor, when they go to the jail, what they do is they do a risk assessment rather than having somebody have to post bail. And so most of those misdemeanor crimes, the folks are just going there. Once they've been identified through their fingerprints, then they're released, and then they're given a court date that they have to follow up on.
And for repeated offenders, even though the value is less than 950, is there different treatment, different kind of processing?
So that's one of the things that the district attorney's office looks at. So when we submit a case over to the district attorney's office, we print out somebody's criminal history. So that would show any previous arrests that have been made on that. And then the district attorney's office can take the appropriate action in regards to charging.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. And then, so during the process of reporting, does the city have any resources that can help support the victims? Like, some of the members in our community may not be as eloquent in English, as they wish to be. Would there be a translator or a translation service?
Yeah, so we're fortunate. We have a few officers that speak that are bilingual, and so that's always helpful. And then if that's not if somebody is not on duty at the time, then what we do is we have a translation service that we utilize, and so it has I'm not sure how many languages. I know it's quite a few, but
Okay.
we'll always find somebody that can help translate, and then it always it's always helpful when you have like a younger family member in the house
Right.
that's bilingual and they
Right.
can help us out as well. So but yeah, we definitely have a translation service that helps us with, because there's a
Okay.
lot of different languages spoken in the city of Dublin, and so we don't have officers that speak all those languages, but we do have the resources available to us so we can serve the community.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And just
Wonderful.
to add, Margaret,
Yes.
the county also, so if a case has ever been escalated to the DA's office, the county has almost all the languages as well too.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing, Melissa. Okay, so yeah, because some of the residents are seniors and their children live in the Bay Area but may not be accessible at the moment. So I think this kind of information is always very helpful for them. I have a follow-up question regarding the pepper spray. Given that pepper spray is authorized to be used for anybody age 18 or over, is there any suggestion for kids? What can the kids do to protect themselves? Or is there any tools that they can use or anything like that?
I think the mayor had mentioned it earlier with her daughter going jogging, and I think one of the good things is that try to go jogging with a friend. Make sure that that you go somewhere in pairs, so that somebody can always call for help. If you're by yourself and somebody grabs you and you don't have your phone with you, then it's very difficult for you to call for help, especially if you're in an isolated area where there's no other people around. So it's always good to use the buddy system and to have other friends or family members around so that you can be safer.
Okay.
I do want to add something as a parent.
Yeah.
Is make a plan. So my daughter freshman year, and my son's already graduated in 2018.
Mhm.
And we've done that whole route, but it's always different when you also have a girl though. And you have to be, and that's where I'm really mindful, having a
Mhm.
son and having a daughter. Her first school dance that she went to at Dublin High, her freshman year, I gave her a plan before she stepped out of my car. As crazy as that sounds, and everybody thinks that, oh, mom, you're being helicopter mom. I was not a helicopter mom. It was the fact that if something happened or something broke out and you
Mhm.
have, quite a bit of kids there and something bad happens, then you want to prepare that child. So to be able to have a route already in place, a plan in place is really, really helpful. And I always want to tell parents that.
Thank you very much, Melissa. I am 100% standing with you. I mean, helicopter mom or not, at that moment, I don't really care. But figuring out the route is really important. Is there any other good advice that you can share with the parents?
I would just say, as far as, most children have a cell phone now, and there
Mm-hmm.
are, tracking capabilities. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's good to be able to have that information available or shared with the parents so that
Mm-hmm.
you can go on there and you can know where your children are. Um,
Right.
I think that's very important, and that's a huge safety tip for everybody.
Great. Yes, I absolutely agree. I think cell phone tracking is very helpful, especially at times like this. Okay, let me go through some of the questions over here. Oh, another question is, would it be okay to carry and use a stun gun?
Yes, those are legal to carry as well.
Okay, great. And all right, I think we're good to move on to the next round of questions. What is the current status of cyberbullying in Dublin? Because the children nowadays stay at home, especially during, shelter in place. They stay on social network all the time. What are the current situation, and what are the suggestions that you may have for the youth members?
So kind of similar to the cell phones, I really recommend the parents, monitoring your children's social media accounts.
Mm,
Don't give them free reign. Make sure that you're checking in on them occasionally. Uh,
mm-hmm,
we generally see this, in the middle school or high school age children, and
mm-hmm,
usually our school resource officers are working with the school district, either the administration at the school and the counselors,
mm-hmm,
um, and we'll go out we'll take a look at that. We'll get the information that's provided by the victim in that particular case. We usually work with the school district, find out where the other student lives, and then go pay them a visit and talk to their parents. And for the majority of the instances that we deal with, they're usually resolved at a very low level. And so,
mm-hmm.
but I think the important thing is that if you see that your child is, their behavior has changed and they're not acting normal, and they're being reclusive and they don't want to go out, and that's a change of their behavior, then you definitely need to want to take a look at that very closely.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's necessary to escalate it to the police department, we're there to look into it. Otherwise, sometimes, some of the school counselors and that, sometimes they can resolve that at a little lower level.
I see. Does Dublin receive any reporting of cyberbullying at all?
We every once in a while we'll get one. Yeah. And it's
You do.
like I said, it's usually the school age kids that we're seeing it from.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And so there was a question regarding related to an earlier question. If the suspect, let's say, gets released and within a few hours because of the property value is less than 950, does the suspect's name be released at all if they committed a crime or,
Yeah, so once somebody has been arrested, that document becomes a public record. And so,
okay.
arrest, so, if somebody wanted to go down to the courthouse and see who's been arrested, you can go down to the courthouse and they can provide you the information of, the individuals that have been arrested.
Okay. Now, there was also saying, and I'm not sure, it's not validated, that if, let's say, a Good Samaritan reported a crime that they see, and can the Good Samaritan be reporting it anonymously, or do they have to release their names and their identity?
No, they can report it anonymously.
Or they are allowed to
Yes.
report anonymously? Okay, great. That's good to know.
The thing for the police department is, depending on the incident, on some anonymous calls, it only gives us so much authority to do things. And so sometimes we need to get the name of the person who's reporting it in order to further that investigation. But don't let that prohibit people from calling in. If they want to call in and be anonymous, they absolutely can.
Okay. Yeah, because there's, for some residents, there's fear of retaliation if they report it and their name, be released and whatnot. So, okay, great. And then bring us to our next question is, so a lot of people, one of the major concern, whether it is home invasion, robbery, the major concern is self-defense. I mean, the first thing that you can rely on yourself is self-defense. What is the boundary that defined for self-defense, especially with regards to weapons?
So if you're in your own house, and somebody is breaking into your house, what the police department is going to ask you is, what your level of concern or fear was when that person was breaking into your house. And depending on the person's actions, if they're banging on the door, then your self-defense is going to be less. If they've entered into your house and they have a weapon in their hand, and they're threatening you to do bad things to you, then obviously that has escalated significantly, and the person who's defending themselves can escalate whatever method that they're going to need in order to defend themselves.
Right. And I am going to raise this, question for some of the, residents. Their language might not be as eloquent, or their understanding level, especially in a situations, traumatic situations like that. They may not comprehend what the intruder was saying, and in order to assess how high the risk level is, the fact that the intruder, breaking into their house, to them is a clear sign of danger. Does that warrant the homeowner or the residents to exercise their right?
Absolutely. You can, if the kind of the doctrine is that your home is your castle, and that you can protect your property as well as your life. And so I just think that people just need to be careful not to go overboard. Once that threat has ceased, then they need to make sure that they're not inflicting additional harm on the person. Right.
I think I'd like to point out one more thing, and please correct me if I am wrong, is that if the person, you can use a weapon if the person is facing you, right? If the person is walking out or has his back towards you, then you are not allowed to use the weapon, correct? Or you will get into legal trouble if you do.
You could find yourself in legal trouble in that particular situation you're describing.
Okay. Okay. So it is critical that the person is facing you when situations like this happen. Okay, great.
Now, I mean, if you have, if there's two people who live in the house
Mm-hmm,
and somebody broke into the house
mm-hmm,
and the suspect is on top of, the other
mm-hmm,
person,
mm-hmm,
then and the other person comes up from behind,
mm-hmm.
and now we're talking about a different set of circumstances. You're trying to protect that person, and so
Right.
in that particular case, you know, it would be okay to do something from behind that person.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. Thank you very much. All right. That brings us to the last question I have. Recently, there are a lot of thefts of mail from condos and townhouse area. Their mailboxes were open and the mails were stolen. And sometimes the mail, um, the non valuable mails will show up somewhere else in somebody else's, garage or in front of somebody else's garage and whatnot. Have you received any reports like that? And what can we do to prevent that?
Yeah, we have. It's kind of something that is all over right now. Like I said, a lot of people haven't been out, and
Mm-hmm,
so individuals who are looking to do identity theft,
mm-hmm,
which is, steal your personal identifying information, say open up bank accounts or withdraw money from your bank accounts.
mm-hmm,
What they try to do is they try to steal people's mail, and
mm-hmm,
then they go through the mail and they're looking for that personal identifying information, social security numbers, dates of birth,
mm-hmm,
addresses, and then they try opening up accounts in those other people's names. And so one of the things that they do, the reason they go to the apartment complexes is because instead of having to drive down a street to get to 30 different mailboxes, they get them all in one shot. And so they open up one of those large mailboxes, and right there they have 30 people's mail in one shot. And so there's been a few arrests in the Tri-Valley that have
mm-hmm,
recovered quite a bit of mail.
mm-hmm,
Generally, these folks are going out in the very early hours of the morning,
mm-hmm,
um, and they end up stealing the mail. And so, you know, one of the things that I would recommend is the United States Postal Service. They have an app. It's called Informed Delivery, and if you go on there, what it does is it shows you. They scan all the mail that you receive in your mailbox every day. And so I have that on my phone. So even before my mail is delivered to my house, I can go through the application and I can see, excuse me, I can see what's going to be delivered in my mailbox that day. So if somebody were to steal my mail, I could compare that to the scan of my mail and make sure that something is not missing. And so it's a, you can just download the United States Postal Service app, is what I have on my phone. You can also stop your mail if you're going to go away for a period of time. You can
mm-hmm,
put a mail hold on in the
mm-hmm,
application. Um, so, and then also if you are going away, out of town, out of the country, if you'd like the police department to do vacation house checks, please
mm-hmm.
contact our crime prevention unit, let them know, and then we can have police officers periodically drive by people's residences to make sure that everything is secure.
What is the what number do we call or to inform the police that, oh, let's say I'm going to be out of country for a month or something, can you please check on my house for?
Yeah, they can call our main number at 925-833-6670 and just ask
Okay.
for somebody in our crime prevention unit. And then
Okay.
what they'll do is they'll fill out a card and they'll give it to the patrol teams so that they can make sure that their people's properties are safe. And then we also ask that they provide us somebody's information, a family friend or neighbor that's close by that may have a key in case we need to clear the residence and make sure that everything's okay.
Right. That's very informative, very critical information for us to have. And that concludes all the questions from me. I have one more question from the listener. Not sure if that's some a question that you can answer, but what can we do to change the inmate release procedure?
So that is being done at the state level, and so the only way to change that would be to contact your state representatives, your state senators, your state representatives, and just let them know that that you want these folks that have been committing crimes to stay in jail longer. So that's nothing that we can do at the local level. That's all done at the state level. And so that's what you'd have to do. You have to contact your elected officials on that.
Okay. Speaking of that, I have one quick question that some residents have asked before. We all know that we have the Santa Rita, jail in our city of Dublin, and periodically some inmates are released from there. What is the release procedure? I mean, do they just let them go off on foot out of the jail? Do they send them to the BAR station? I mean, what is the I
So
guess
there's a variety of different things that take place. When somebody is released from custody, they're a free person, and so they walk right out the front door. And there's usually some taxis that are out front of the jail. There's also a bus service that's available, and there's also the county has put some resources. There's a trailer that is out front, and when people get released, they could go to the trailer there. There's some individuals there from a community-based organization that can assist people in order to get home. If the person is indigent and they do not have enough money, then the jail provides them a BART ticket. And so generally they're going to walk to the BART station, and then they have a BART ticket that will get them so they can return home. Those are just a few of the resources that are available. A lot of people, they'll call somebody to come pick them up. So we have folks that are coming to pick them up. So there's a variety of different ways for people to get back home.
So I do want to add, if just really quick, because I get this answer or this question asked a lot, and I know you can elaborate on this, Garrett, with regards to residents have asked, well, can they be released at a certain time? And the answer is no. So I'd like for you to elaborate on why.
Yeah. So, if somebody is in custody and they get bailed out, or a case doesn't get charged, or they've completed their sentence, it doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, then by law, we have to release that person. And so, so that's the reason that, we may release somebody at 2:00 in the morning. All of a sudden, a bail bondsman is posted bail for them, and the paperwork comes through, it gets checked out, and then the person is released. And so that's what we have to do.
Right. So according to the question, as far as transportation, I mean, if they chose or they choose to walk out of the jail and just wander around in the neighborhood, that there's nothing, I guess, preventatively we can do, correct?
Correct. If the people in the neighborhood see that the person is acting suspiciously, if they're looking into vehicles, if they think that there's any criminal activity that's taking place, please give us a call, and we'll send an officer over to check that out.
Earlier, you mentioned that Dublin has installed the cameras. So I assume those are cameras on the street to scan the license plate. Is that what the camera is for?
So we have a couple different technologies that was passed in the last few years by the city council, and we're very appreciative, because when it comes to public safety, we can't have a police officer on every corner, and so the cameras have really been a force multiplier for us. We've solved a lot of serious criminal investigations that we've utilized that technology. We do have license plate readers, and then at a lot of the major intersections in town, we have some video cameras that we can go back. And so generally the video cameras are something that will take place like after the fact, or if there's an in progress crime and there's a suspect who's fleeing, you know, we can access the cameras and take a look in the area to see if we can get a direction of flight of the vehicle. The license plate readers we primarily have set up when folks are coming into town. So there's been numerous incidences where either somebody's going to like one of our shopping areas, or even most recently, as a couple weeks ago, we got a license plate reader hit on a stolen vehicle, and we found the vehicle in the parking lot of the courthouse. And so this person had a court date, and they were driving a stolen car to their court date. So
I thought that person was driving to return the car.
So we ended up arresting that person and took them to jail, and were able to contact the owner of the vehicle and tell them we recovered their car, and were able to get them their car back. So
Wow.
the technology
Right.
for us, like I said, I feel that it's really enhanced our ability to protect our residents.
Wonderful. Yes, certainly. And then the license plate readers is just automatic. Any cars that comes in to our city, is that it?
Yeah. So you know, it has difficulty picking up the paper license plates on the newer vehicles, but if it's a regular license plate, they do very well.
Okay. Cool. Some of the new technology is really helpful.
So let me thank you so much for this. I saw one question I want to bring that up, and maybe let us have a little bit discussion there. Are there anything we can do to make our city even more safer than before? Because we feel pretty safe already. Like you said, there's a license readers. Are there something, for example, like a video cameras, we can install that in major like a traffic sections, or we can put that in like a schools? Are there something we can do?
Yeah, I think we're actually the police department, we're actually putting together something that we'll be bringing to the city manager to maybe see if we can add some additional cameras at some other locations in town that we currently don't have the ability to view right now.
But just to add on that, you know, it's always important that the residents also, I know that I have cameras around my home. It's really important for their residents, you know, if it's investment that they're able to do, to please do that. It also helps our police officers.
Right.
Yeah, and I think kind of what the mayor was talking about, we have a program that we started maybe 5 years ago, where we ask people, residents that have video cameras, if they would just register them with the police department. Now, that doesn't give us the ability to look at those cameras. All it's doing is, if they just give us a name, address, and a phone number or email address, and if a crime happens in a particular neighborhood. So the cameras that we currently have are at our major intersections throughout town. We don't really have them in the neighborhood. So we really rely on partnering with the residents. If they have security cameras, if they could provide us the location of those cameras, then what we do is we just kind of put those on a map for the police department. And if a crime happens in a particular neighborhood, we know whose door to go knock on that has cameras. And then we can say, you know, Margaret, there was a car that got broken into a couple stores down from you. Can you take a look at the camera for us and tell me if you see anything, you know, between these hours? And so that partnership has been excellent. And it kind of gives our residents the opportunity to play detective and go through that video footage, and then then they provide that. And then if they find something that's, you know, that's evidentiary for us, then what we'll do is we will email them a link, and then they can upload that video into a link, and then it becomes part of the evidence in that case.
Wonderful. Yes, my neighbor has recently been broken into, and unfortunately, nobody in the cul-de-sac has the video camera. But luckily, the last place where my neighbor visited in Target, I think they had the security footages, and that helps the victim to identify the suspect. But yeah, is there? Could you tell us where we can register the video?
Yeah, I believe on the police department, if you go on the city's website under police services,
Mm-hmm.
into crime prevention, there's a link in there, and there's a registration form that you can complete.
Okay, so
And if
that
you have
is
difficulty finding that, just call our main line at 833-6670. Ask for crime prevention, and we'll make sure that we connect with that person.
okay. Well, John is very quick to post a
John's
link.
good.
Yeah, John is really good. Appreciate that, John.
I have one more question to ask. I know we are already at the hour, just one more thing. So because I heard other people also mention about that too, as we all feel very, very sad that our school board member, Catherine, has a tragic accident last week. And that brings us questions that the safety of the schools, of the traffic. I know we have a police officer is working on that. Can Chief Holmes give us a kind of a summary of what has been done and what do we need to be mindful of that?
Yeah, so we really haven't been in person at school since 2019, and so generally what we've done in the past is each of the schools have a traffic plan that has been worked on with the school district as well as our traffic unit, and as well as the city staff, their traffic engineer. And what we do is we work, all of us work together in order to come up with a plan to get cars into the school, to do drop off, to exit the school, making sure, trying to keep the pedestrians and the vehicles separated. The city pays, there's 15 crossing guards that are assigned to the schools. The city pays for the majority of those. And the other thing is, like, usually the first couple of weeks of school is generally the most chaotic. And so what we do, myself included, I've been out at Cottonwood Elementary the last couple of years. In the first week, we'll go out there, every single morning, every afternoon with all of our police officers. So, we'll make sure that we have at least one officer at every single school. And we just kind of divide it up, so I'll have some of my detectives out there, myself, our traffic unit, as well as the school resource officers. And we just want to make sure, kind of take a look at the traffic flow. Sometimes we'll pull people over, let them know, hey, what the actions that you did are not safe, make sure that you don't do this again. And usually that first week is kind of first week or two is going to be an educational opportunity for us to make sure that the traffic is flowing properly. And then, as things go along, there's always things that come up that we work with the school district, through the city manager's office, and just make sure that that the safety of our students, especially the young kids that are coming and going from school. In the summers, what we've done is we've in the past we've held bicycle rodeos, and so the bicycle rodeos are an opportunity for our crime prevention unit and traffic unit to work with some of the younger students, so that your elementary school age children. And then we're able to provide them some safety tips as far as when to cross the street, some of the rules of the road, so that they can traverse, to and from school in a safe manner.
Oh, that's wonderful programs to hear. I'll make sure to share that. As far as the bicycle rodeo, is that something that they can find on the city website as well?
Yeah, and we generally advertise that. Those are held in the summertime.
Okay, great.
And we always have a plan with our police officers before school starts every single year. So
Okay.
they go through all that and make sure that, a plan's set in place.
Right. Okay, great.
One thing I want to add in, that's what I just heard. We do have police working on the school district, and that's something other cities might not be able to do. So just a one thing to for all of us to know. Our city has put the safety first and put the school safety as a first priority.
Right. Great, great. I have last two questions. I know that we're running out of time. Just very quickly, I want to make sure that their question is not unread. Is there any unusual activity we can do to enhance our safety, like, donations and protests as Dublin residents? I guess, is there any agency that we can donate to help enhance our safety? I'm not sure about protest. I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, is there any nonprofit organization that we can, donate or support to help enhance our safety?
I'll have to think about that one, Margaret.
Okay. If you think of anything, just let me know.
Okay.
Well, I know
I'll
you
be
have
sure
your
to relay.
the breast cancer patches. I'm not sure what necessarily the funds go to for that, Garrett, but I know that that the police is always constantly trying their best to try to advocate, whether it's something for breast cancer for women in the month of October.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a variety of fundraisers ourselves throughout the years.
Mhm.
We've done over the last couple years before Christmas, we did like the Stuff the Cruiser event where we were raising toys for children who were in like a children's hospital. We've also raised toys for Calico, which is a forensic interview location that most of the police departments in the county take advantage of. And so when you get younger children who are victims of crimes, and particularly sex crimes, we're able to take the children to that location, and that's a very worthy charitable foundation
Us.
that does a tremendous service to our community as well as the other cities in the county.
Okay, please do share those information with us so that we can share with our residents as well. Last two questions. Are you, as far as, the crime activity, is there any, city data as far as the demographic or anything like that that's being published?
Yeah, I know that on the city's website, we have all of our crime data goes in there. And then we're also working on a city report from the police department, an annual report. And so hopefully we have that out fairly soon.
Okay, great. My last question, there's a Citizens Academy, correct?
Correct.
Is that for all residents? Is there any particular requirement? Do they have to apply for it? What is the typical process?
Yeah, so it's for all residents, and actually I believe tonight is the first night of the Citizens Academy, the one that we're running right now. So we're doing it virtual right now, and then hopefully if things start to loosen up, then we'll be able to go to some of the things that they do in the Citizens Academy in the past. Is we've been able to provide a tour of the Santa Rita Jail. We've been able to provide a tour of the crime lab, of the range facilities where officers receive their training. And so hopefully as this academy that's in session right now, as they're going through, hopefully some things loosen up where we might be able to get meet with them in person and go to some of these other locations.
That would be nice. And it's only held one session per year.
Yes.
Is that right? Like for the whole duration of the year, or is that
yeah, because it's generally held over a couple month period. So
I see.
And if there's a waiting list or something like that, that's always something that we can take a look at. If we have additional interest, I would think that we could probably hold another one of those.
Okay, so it's an experience for a resident to kind of shadow a police department to see what they do on a normal day-to-day kind of routine?
Yeah, and so what we do
Okay.
is we have like each one of our units, our patrol unit, our crime prevention unit, the property room for evidence.
Mhm.
They'll each do an evening and take some questions and answers, and then like I said, then we have some of the other entities that are part of what we do as far as like the crime lab and the jail and those things.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions that we have, and really appreciate, Mayor Hernandez, Chief Holmes, and council member who to join us and, share this valuable information with us. I have learned a lot. I'm sure our community members did too. And thank you, Linda, for facilitating. John and Sierra, you guys are wonderful in providing all of the information so timely. Thank you, and hope you guys have a great rest of the evening.
Thank
All
you.
right,
And,
Margaret,
just
thank
to
you very much.
add very quickly,
Yes.
we, when all the questions are being answered and everything, is just to make sure that the community is involved, and the community, we keep communicating
Right.
and talking, and that also helps our police department as well with regards to, like what I said in the beginning, if you see something, please say something, because it's helpful to them. But to be able to have this conversation, I'm glad that we took the opportunity and the time to do it. And again, Dublin does not tolerate any hate in our city at all whatsoever.
Right. Totally. And our community member will do whatever they can to cooperate and to, actually, to proactively share information so that we can all look out for each other. Thank you again. Thank you
Gary, do
again,
you want to
Mayor.
say some last words?
No, hey, like you said, see something, say something, give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to come out there and assist.
Right.
My on the city website, there's an email that goes directly to the police chief. It's police.chief@dublin.ca.gov. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to send me an email.
And, do let us know if there's anything that, the residents can do to support the police force, let us know as well. We'll be more than happy to. I know that during the COVID time, we try to, supply some PPEs and, anything that we can do. We're all in this together. So let us know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you, Margaret, because when this thing first started and there was a shortage of the PPE, you guys did a fantastic job, and we really appreciate everything that you donated to us. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, we're all in this together. So anytime, let us know. Okay.
Thank you, Margaret, for organizing this information session for us. And thanks to Mayor, City Manager, and Chief Holmes, because we do appreciate we are in this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hu, and hope everybody have a wonderful evening tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody stay safe.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.